I'm Vinnie Politan, the subject of my investigation, the Delphi murder case, an investigation and trial that was anything but transparent. As a result, many people are skeptical about the prosecution and conviction of Richard Allen. And that's why we are taking a closer look as the evidence finally becomes public. Here's the story. In the quiet town of Delphi, Indiana, the innocence of a small community was shattered on February 13, 2017. Best friends Libby German and Abby Williams set out for a hike along the Monon High Bridge, but they never came home. Their bodies were discovered the next day in a wooded area, and what was once a peaceful trail became the center of a haunting mystery. A chilling clue emerged. Libby had recorded a man on her phone. Grainy video, a muffled voice commanding, "Guys, down the hill." That voice echoed across the nation. For years, tips poured in, sketches evolved, and the case grew colder and colder until 2022, when Richard Allen was arrested and charged. As disturbing court documents hinted at ritualistic elements and unspeakable acts, the case grew darker still. The Delphi murders became not just a search for justice, but a terrifying glimpse into evil hiding in plain sight. Then Richard Allen was convicted, and now some are questioning whether the right man is in prison. Now, there were no cameras inside the courtroom. We didn't get to see and hear the evidence, but now some of the evidence is, and a lot of the evidence is being released and made public finally. It's all public records from a public trial, so it's not like, oh, please, please give us the records. No, this is stuff that the public is entitled to by law. So, one of the big parts of the prosecution's case were the confessions of Richard Allen, admitting to committing the crime. That, ladies and gentlemen, is called direct evidence, right? We always hear, oh, it's merely a circumstantial case. No, prosecutor said this is not a circumstantial case. This is a case with direct evidence. The direct evidence, the confessions of Richard Allen himself. So I want to take a listen to one of those confessions, because they happened on prison phone calls. So here is Richard Allen speaking with his wife and admitting to the crime.
This isn't right. They messed you up so bad.
It's okay, honey. I did it. I did it, dear.
Stop.
I cannot stop. I've got somebody here listening to me right now, dear.
No. Who's with you? Who's with you? Who's with you? Who's with you? You need to stop talking. If there's if your lawyer's not there, you need to stop talking. Who's with you, honey? Who's with you?
Obviously a very emotional call, but it's a confession. He's saying, I did it. But he also said, I've got somebody here listening to me right now. And then his wife asked, well, who is it? And there's no response from Richard Allen. Who was this person that was with him or next to him at the moment he is confessing to a horrific crime, to a double murder, to his wife on the phone? And that brings us to the first question in our investigation. It's about the confessions. Was Richard Allen pressured to confess? There is such thing as a false confession, and those who believe Richard Allen did not do it believe these are false confessions. And one of the reasons they believe that is some believe that he was pressured. But was he pressured to confess here? Joining us, Court TV senior producer. She's covered the case from the beginning and was at the trial inside the courtroom. Barbara McDonald is here. And the YouTube live streamer behind Gray Hughes Investigates. He, too, has been to Delphi, and he's followed this case very closely. Gray Hughes is with us. Okay. I just want to do one thing before I hear from both of you, and I want to put up here this confession letter that Richard Allen wrote to the warden. It says, I am ready to officially confess for killing Abby and Libby. I hope I get the opportunity to tell the families I'm sorry. Okay, and you look at the writing there. So Barbara McDonald, give us a little more context now. The story behind the story of this confession we just heard and the letter that was written to the warden.
So the confession that you heard was a prison phone call that happened on May 10th of 2023. That was about 6 months after he was arrested and placed in that maximum security prison where he was in solitary confinement. He had cameras on him 24/7. He'd been diagnosed as psychotic and was receiving medication against his will, that he wasn't taking the antipsychotic medication, so they were strapping him down and giving him these injections of this medication during this time that these phone calls happened. The prison psychologist, Dr. Monica Walla, did testify that she was present for that phone call. She said that he told her he wanted her to be present when he called his wife to confess, because he wanted his wife to understand his confession. But during that phone call, we don't have the entire phone call. We only have a portion of it. And his wife asked him about 10 or 15 times, who is with you? Who is this other person in the room? And he never answers her during that call.
Gray Hughes, let me ask you, are you concerned at all, were you concerned at all about the nature of the confessions, the circumstances surrounding the confessions, that they're all post-arrest? They've already charged him with the murders, and the confession are months down the line. Are you concerned at all about any of that? Do you think anyone was potentially pressuring him?
I do not think anybody was pressuring him. I think that prior to that, I think even in April he confessed as well in different phone calls, and he wasn't even deemed to have any psychological problems when he was first confessing. And I think he just wanted somebody, he wanted to know that they would still love him even if they knew for certain that he did this. And he kept trying to get them to say, yes, I'll love you regardless. And he kept asking it in that way, like, will you still love me even if you know that I did this? I mean, when he's confessing, doesn't he sound just totally lucid and normal? He doesn't seem out of control or psychotic in any way, shape, or form. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's so difficult. I wish these were video confessions. There would be so much more to go on. Let's play another one, though, because it's not just one confession we're talking about. Gray is right. I mean, there's a series of these. Let's take a listen to another one.
What's going on?
I just wanted to apologize to you.
What's going on, sweetheart? Are you not
I did
feeling
it.
well? You did
No,
what?
I did it.
What?
I killed Abby and Libby.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't, Darren.
Yes, I did.
Don't say
I
you
don't
did
know
that.
why.
So, Barbara, what do we know about the nature of the relationship, husband and wife, and why she's the one he's confessing to?
They'd been married at this point about 30 years. They had an adult daughter who was married, that they raised together, and they had lived in Delphi since about 2013, I believe, is what Richard Allen had said in his interrogation. And they appeared to be a loving couple. She supported him all through the trial. She was there along with his mother. His mother did fall and become injured at one point during the trial, which prevented her from being able to come to the trial after that. But other family members came, his stepfather and others. And by all accounts, they did have a close relationship. One of the defense witnesses testified that he is very dependent on his wife, and that is a very significant relationship in his life, and that when he was in prison and isolated away from his wife and unable to communicate with her, that in some ways the prison psychologist almost kind of filled that void for him and became that trusted companion. And that the state's theory is that that's why he confessed to her in such detail as well. All the confessions were to women.
Yeah, the pretrial detention was unusual in the way it happened here. Ended up getting sent away to a prison, which is where you go after you've been convicted. in most, if not all the trials we cover, pre-trial, you're usually in a local jail. But here, for whatever reason, he's shipped out to a prison and isolated a lot longer than most pre-trial defendants are treated and isolated. It was more punitive than to ensure that he shows up at trial. To me, that was the unusual part of this. Gray, I want you to take a listen to this. This is another one of the calls where he talks about his own state of mind to his wife.
I'm right here.
Are you okay?
Yeah? Yeah. What's going on, hon?
I don't know. I just think maybe I've lost my mind.
What do you think's going on there, Gray? Do you think he's trying to set up some sort of a defense there by saying he's lost his mind, or do you think he's really questioning his sanity?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to try to piece together if there's any of these confessions that were planned, because after he first confessed, Richard Allen's wife contacted his attorneys, and lo and behold, they show up there, and the next day he's drooling on his shirt and taking pictures with the drool stains and so forth, that one right there. And you sort of wonder after that, did they have him mix in some where he tried to incorporate his mental state as, but he doesn't really ever say that, though. You know, that's the thing, is if he was really setting it up, he doesn't specifically go, man, I'm completely lost my mind. I don't even know what's real. You know, he kind of does that a little bit, but it seems like he's really trying to, you know, get them to believe that he did this. I mean, he literally says it like 60 times that he did this. He just wants somebody to believe them. And I almost wonder if one of them at any point in time had said, we believe you. What do you want to do now?
Yeah, what would have his reaction been at that moment? Because his wife is not accepting it. Okay, great news. Barbara and Gray are going to stay with us. Coming up next, does this video show a 2016 Ford Focus like the one that Richard Allen owns? Is Karen Reed a killer girlfriend?
She's guilty.
Or the scapegoat in an elaborate cover-up?
Karen Reed was framed!
Karen Reed is accused of murdering her police officer boyfriend.
And it's stated repeatedly, I hit him, I hit him.
She may end up taking the stand. Her first trial ended with a hung jury. They haven't proven anything.
Will a jury finally agree on a verdict? We know who did it.
The Karen Reed murder retrial. Live coverage weekday mornings, 8, 7 Central on Court TV.
I left my mom's, it was probably around 11:15. So I think I would have been out there, because I didn't do anything else. It would have been around noon, I thought.
All right, Richard Allen admits being out there near the Monon High Bridge, but he's saying he's there around noon. The timeline in this case, extremely important, because there are certain things we know. We know what time the bridge guy is on the Monon High Bridge. We know what time we hear down the hill. All of that was documented very well. So there's another piece of evidence that's been released, at least some still frames from it. There's apparently some surveillance video of a vehicle arriving in the area before the murders. And it's a camera from the feed store. And prosecutors are saying that car is Richard Allen's 2016 Ford Focus. But you look at the highlighted area, it's way, way, way in the distance. So like everything else, you don't get a clear picture. Which brings us to the next question in our investigation, and it's about that video. Does this video show a 2016 Ford Focus? That's Richard Allen's vehicle. And still with us, Barbara McDonald and Gray Hughes. Barbara, just clarify the timeline for us and the significance of this surveillance video.
So this is the video that the state alleges shows Richard Allen arriving from the west, arriving on 300 North to that old abandoned CPS building that existed back then, where they believe he parked his car and walked out to the trails. In the interrogation videos, he did not say that's where he parked, and he did not say that was the direction that he traveled to get there. He kept insisting that he had come from in town, which is coming from the opposite direction. Or rather, this is coming from the east. He says he came from the west, and never would have been seen by this camera, the route that he took to get to the trails that day.
So as we said, it's in the distance, but is it a 2016 Ford Focus? Gray Hughes on your channel, Gray Hughes Investigates. I know you put together a graphic demonstration. We have some of that video. As we roll it out here, why don't you explain to us what exactly we're looking at? And we do have that video? Here it is. Tell us what we're looking at.
Well, I put together, I used the map of the area from above, made it north-south oriented, and then I purchased a 2016 black Ford Focus hatchback and a 3D model of it. And then I brought it into the program, 3D Studio Max, lined the sun up with the exact time of day. I put the vehicle on the road right where you would see it, and then I put the camera on the north of that slab of cement that you see in the surveillance shot, and then I aimed it in that exact direction. And for some reason, the sunlight in my program wasn't hitting the roof very well, but I just put the vehicle in the same position as each one of the 3 photos that were released. And I mean, it looks like a black Ford Focus. Now, apparently at trial, they said that there was one black Ford 2016 black Ford Focus in the county, and they said there's 8 total in that county of any year, like different years, black Ford Focus in that county and surrounding counties.
Gray, I just want to clarify for everyone watching, right? So as this thing flickers back and forth, is that you putting the overlay of a Ford Focus over the video?
Yeah, and there's even a better version of that where I gradually slide it back and forth with all 3 of them, maybe in this area right here. Yeah, I mean, look at that. It's just, I mean, it's almost unbelievable how perfectly the vehicle matches. So, I mean, is it his 2016 black Ford Focus? Circumstantially, you would have to say yes. He said he got there at 1:30, and that vehicle's driving by at 1:27, coming from the east. Now, I identified a long time ago another route that he could drive going the back way. It takes 10 minutes only, and you come over the Wilson Bridge, which is east of there, and it comes on to 300 and comes in that direction. Now, of course, when he's being interviewed by law enforcement, he's not going to try to remember exactly how he went because he doesn't want to be the vehicle that maybe they see. You know what I mean? So I think this model overlay shows that it is a Ford Focus, and a black one, it looks like, a dark vehicle. And there's only one black 2016 Ford Focus in that county, and there's only 8 black Ford Focuses of any year in that county and surrounding counties. So circumstantially, you'd have to say that has to be his vehicle.
Barbara, how did this play in the trial? How did they take that image from the video and argue to the jury that it was a 2016 Ford Focus?
Basically by talking about the hubcaps, that there were, Richard Allen had a 2016 black Ford Focus SE model. It was a hatchback, and there were 3 different types of hubcaps you could get on the vehicle, and he had one of them. The way that the witness, Steve Mullen, talked about them is that you could see daylight through them, and he showed on the pictures where he is seeing daylight through those hubcaps in that surveillance video. One point the defense did bring up, though, is that there are a lot of cars like that and other models that look similar to it, not only in that county, but in other counties. And, this is a popular area for people to go walking. Some of the witnesses who were out there that day were from other counties. So not necessarily it has to be a car that's registered in Carroll County to have been in that area that day.
Let me ask you, Barbara, was there any video of him leaving? Because, you know, you're arriving, we see him go in one direction. Is there video of him leaving, going the other way?
No, they surmised that he went a different route when he left the trails.
So he probably didn't want to drive. I would say he wouldn't want to drive back that way because he wouldn't want to pass all the people that were gathering. Remember when Sarah Carbaugh drove by? She said there was a whole bunch of people gathered by the Mears parking area. So why would he want to drive back right next to those people?
So what you're both telling me, so Barbara, if you continue in the direction that the car was going, because it would have to continue that way if he's not coming back to go back home, where does that lead to? Where does that go to?
That will lead you over to that old CPS building that's been mentioned many times in this case, where the state believes that he parked that day, where witnesses said they saw a car looking like his car parked there. And if you continue around, it brings you out to Main Street, essentially. And if you turn left, you can get out to the Hoosier Heartland Highway and get to Lafayette or up north. Or if you go right, you're going to go right into downtown Delphi.
All right. Fascinating stuff. Gray, they probably, well, they got the conviction, but if it gets overturned, you may be getting a call from the prosecution to do that overlay. Fascinating stuff. Gray Hughes, appreciate it. Thank you so much. Barbara is going to stick around and help us out some more. Up next, we've got more evidence to show you. Is this bridge guy's jacket? I'm Vinnie Politan. We continue our investigation of the Delphi murders, a case that took years to solve but ended when a local CVS worker was arrested and convicted. But not everyone is convinced he actually did it. Here's the story. The Delphi murders, the tragic 2017 killings of Abby Williams and Libby German, stunned the nation. But as the case unfolded, the horror deepened. When Richard Allen was arrested in 2022, relief washed over the community. Finally, a suspect. Yet what followed was a legal and emotional storm. Allen's defense shocked the public by introducing Odinism, a fringe pagan belief system, as a possible motive, and suggested others, not Allen, committed the crime in a ritualistic killing. This explosive claim drew outrage, skepticism, and fascination, casting a strange, dark shadow over the courtroom. Court documents hinted at gruesome crime scene details, sealed records, and infighting between attorneys. With gag orders issued and emotions running high, the Delphi case transformed from a heartbreaking, small-town tragedy into a swirling legal saga of symbolism, secrecy, and suspicion. What began as a search for two lost girls has become one of the most dramatic criminal cases in modern memory. And finally we're starting to see some of the evidence in the case. It has taken forever. They kept the cameras out of the courtroom. Indiana changed their law to allow cameras inside of the courtroom, but the judges retained discretion, and this judge kept them out. There were other things the judge did that were highly unusual in this case. But now we're starting to see the evidence. It's trickling out. They're not making it easy, but we are getting to see things. I want you to take a look at this. This is the blue jacket found in Richard Allen's closet. Why is this significant? Well, it's significant because the killer was wearing a blue jacket. According to prosecutors, the bridge guy was wearing a blue jacket. So now we get to see Richard Allen's blue jacket in his closet. And that brings us to the next question in our investigation. It's about that jacket. Is this bridge guy's jacket? Is there any way to figure that out? It's a pretty big deal. It's a really big deal. Here with us, Court TV senior producer She's covered the case from the beginning, was at the trial in the courtroom, Barbara McDonald, and a private investigator who's close to Richard Allen's family, founder of Victim News Online. Erica Morse is here as well. Okay, first of all, Barbara, I want to do a split screen of the bridge guy and the jacket, and I'm wondering, during the course of the trial, did prosecutors show something like this to the jury?
No, this was collected during the search warrant at Richard Allen's home about 2 weeks prior to his arrest. It was tested, and we were told that nothing in Richard Allen's home connected him to Abby or Libby, and nothing connected Abby or Libby to anything in his home. So conceivably, nothing was found on this jacket linking him to the crime. And it does look similar to the jacket that Bridge Guy is wearing. There's been much debate over the years since this crime happened and this image was released of this man on the bridge of what kind of jacket that was. I will tell you that the two largest employers in the Delphi area, there's a hog processing plant and the Subaru factory, that both have blue jackets as part of their uniforms and have for years. Many people, especially men in the area, do have a jacket that looks like that, whether it's Carhartt or another brand.
Okay, Erica Morse, let's take another look at that split. Is this Bridge Guy's jacket?
No, it's not. And I'm going to answer the other question you asked at the beginning of this segment, Vinny, which is there a way to prove whether or not that's Bridge Guy's jacket? And the answer is yes, because I started asking that question 2 years ago. And Kathy Allen takes really good notes. That is not Rick Allen's jacket. It can't possibly be Rick Allen's jacket that Bridge Guy is wearing. Because if the police had bothered to do their jobs and research the provenance of this jacket, they would have known it wasn't possible for Rick Allen to be wearing that blue Carhartt on February 13th of 2017.
Why is that? And let's put the split up again so everybody can see it. Everyone's got, this is important evidence. This is identifying a killer. Go ahead. Why? Explain to me in detail why this could not be Rick Allen's jacket, cannot be Bridge Guy's jacket.
Be careful here, because I talked with one of the appellate attorneys last week, and if I were an appellate attorney, I would be using this in the appeal. Carhartt has specific tags on that jacket. Barb knows exactly what I'm about to say because I called her, I believe it was the first night of trial, and I discussed this with her because it was so upsetting to me for the last 2 years. But essentially, Vinnie, Carhartt keeps very good track of their jackets, of their products. And there's a model number and a style number on each Carhartt jacket. And all you have to do is go plug in that model number and or that style number to the Carhartt website, and it tells you precisely when that jacket was manufactured. Now, if you want to look a little bit more closely at that photo, every other photo of that jacket as well that I have been given, because I've been screaming about this jacket for 2 years, shows the tags turned upward so that you can't see the model number and the style number. And when I requested more than a dozen times to view that jacket in person and get the model and style number, for some reason, I was never allowed access. So no, that's not Rick Allen's jacket. And the police probably don't realize until this moment that I know it.
Wow. Okay. That's a big deal. Let's get into some of...
Told you.
Yeah, let's get into some more of the images that we're getting to see for the first time. We've got Richard Allen's car in the garage. Barbara, we talked a little bit about this. This is another big part of the case.
Yeah, so he still had the same car that he might have been, he never did say for sure he was driving that car on February 13th. The couple owned 2 cars. He said he was driving either that one or they had a gray Ford as well. But that car was still there in 2022 when they did the search warrant. That was collected. And that is the vehicle that led to Richard showing up for his second interrogation about 2 weeks later. He had called requesting to have the car back, that they needed it to get to their jobs. And he went into the Indiana State Police post in Lafayette to collect that car. That led into that second interrogation in which he was arrested at the conclusion of it.
Erica, what are your thoughts about the significance of the car? They tend to believe that they were able to match this to a video, and he had the same car, and it all fits like a glove.
Well, I loved Gray's little gaslighting thing in the last segment because Gray hasn't seen the DMV report. I have. What was essentially told to us about the number of Ford Focuses that were in that area wasn't exactly accurate. I will tell you that this PI happened to track down another black Ford Focus in that area that was purchased 1 month before the murders and sold 1 week before trial. That, to me, might be a little bit more of a suspect vehicle than the man who runs CVS and everybody seems to know in the area. The other thing is, I was in that car recently as a few weeks ago. And guess what there isn't in that car, Vinny? There's no blood. There's no mud. There are no bleach stains. There is no evidence of a cleanup. There aren't even pieces of carpeting missing from that vehicle, where an investigator would expect samples would have been taken. I've gone through that car better than they probably did.
There, we've got more images here. Let's take a look. We've got a picture of a bullet found in a box, as well as a picture of Richard Allen's gun. What can you tell us, Barbara?
So this was a keepsake box that was on the dresser in his bedroom, and this is the same type of bullet that was found at the crime scene that they say was cycled through Richard Allen's gun and places him at the crime scene when those girls were murdered. There's no real explanation for the value of this bullet that's in this keepsake box, but they also found the Sig Sauer. This is the gun that he had owned for many years, was registered to him, that he said he had never loaned out to anybody or allowed anybody to borrow for any period of time. And this is the gun that the Indiana State Police firearms analyst said was the source of that ejected cartridge found at the crime scene 6 inches from Libby German's ankle.
Okay, Erica, we have about a minute left. What are your thoughts about the gun that was seized from Rick?
To be careful when we get into the gun and the bullet. And that's one thing I was specifically asked to be careful on. But here's what I will say. I have never seen a trial where the defense argues to get the lab's work product in and the prosecution and the witness fight to keep it out. There was a reason that the prosecution did not want the jury to see those side-by-side photos of the bullet that was allegedly, and I'm going to stress allegedly, taken from that crime scene, and then the one that was taken from Rick's gun that they worked very, very hard to match. But it was pretty much shock in the courtroom when the defense was seen fighting to get those photos in for the jury to see, and the prosecution was objecting to the extent that it required a pretty big sidebar.
Okay. Erica and Barbara are going to stay with us. Still to come, was Richard Allen bloody and muddy?
No, you're dodging the question, David. You're dodging the question.
I'm not here to be interviewed. You've agreed to be interviewed. You told the police you shot him twice in the head. It sounds like you lost control of yourself.
Not at all. No, not at all. I could have killed everybody in that building, and I didn't.
You think you should get some kind of credit for not killing people?
Interview with a Killer. New episode, Sunday at 8 on Court TV.
And this is a picture that was taken with the phone of one of the girls. Okay, I understand that. And the question needs to be, is that you? If it was taken with the girl's phone, that is absolutely, I mean, it's not me, but I never have met these girls before, so even if I thought it looked like me, if it was taken with the girl's phone, there's no way it could be. I've never met them. I've never seen them.
There's Richard Allen being shown a picture of the bridge guy. Is that you? And it's a little bit of a long answer, but his conclusion is it's not me. That is not me. I'm not the bridge guy. I never met Abby and Libby. Now, when the probable cause affidavit came out, there was one part that really struck me, and we've talked a lot about it. It's from a witness who saw what I think prosecutors believe is the killer after the murders. This is from a witness, Sarah Carbaugh. She saw a, quote, male subject walking west on the north side of 300 North. He was wearing a blue-colored jacket and blue jeans, just like Bridge Guy. But here's what's different. Was muddy and bloody, and it appeared he had gotten into a fight. Muddy and bloody. That brings us to the next question in our investigation, and it's about this description. Was Richard Allen bloody and muddy? Still with us, Barbara McDonald and Erica Morse. Barbara, what's the backstory on this witness, Sarah Carbaugh?
So she came forward several weeks after the murders. She was driving through town, and there was a roadblock set up where officers were asking people if they had seen anything. And she decided to finally tell her story, that she was driving on that road, that same road that Richard Allen's car was caught on that Hoosier Harvest Store video, that she was driving on that road just before 4 p.m. And she says she was headed east, and a man was walking west, and he was dressed like Bridge Guy, and he was covered in mud and blood. And in one of her statements, she even said that he looked like he had slaughtered a pig. And even though she found out that night that Abby and Libby were missing in that general area, she did not call and report what she had seen until she drove through that roadblock some weeks later.
Now, Erica, there is some video of Carbaugh's car. We have a still image of it. But what we don't have is any video or a still image of the muddy and bloody guy. I mean, this looks like it's the same camera from the Ford Focus. So if the muddy and bloody guy was walking to his car down that road, I would think he would have appeared on that video.
I don't even know where to start with this one because it's nothing but games. What is happening here is nothing but games. All right, let me try to break this down for you as best as I can. First of all, when Sarah Carbaugh first came forward, all she talked about was seeing a man walking. All right, then her story began to evolve over time. Then the man was suddenly muddy. Then in a later, I believe it was a later deposition, he was muddy and bloody. So you can see how this story was evolving. But what really caught my attention was her adamantly about him looking like he'd slaughtered a pig. And so when a witness came forward mid-trial and said that they knew the identity of the individual in the area who had slaughtered a pig late in the afternoon on February 13th, kind of thought that was an important piece of information.
So
Sarah Carbaugh.
So there's someone who actually slaughtered a pig that day?
According to a witness in the area, and he was walking down 300.
Wow. Sarah Carbaugh also marked up an image of the bridge guy to try to explain. We'll probably have to drop down those words as well so we can see the whole thing. And drew some dots and some blood on where they saw it on the body. Barbara, what are your thoughts about that part of it? It seemed like she got a pretty detailed look at this man based upon the way she's providing this information.
Exactly, and she said she was doing about 35 miles an hour going the opposite direction that this man was walking, and that he was on the opposite side of the road from where she was. So in that, second or whatever it took for her to pass him, she said that she saw this mud and blood on him, that the mud was mostly on the top half of him and the blood was mostly on the bottom half of him. And she even drew, you might not be able to see it on the screen, but she drew droplets of blood on his jeans. And then this is the map that she marked up, and where you see the initials BG, that's where she says he was when she passed him and got that really good look at him.
So let's do this. Matt Johnson, Court TV crime and justice correspondent, was there, and I think with you, Barbara. Let's take a look at him showing us this road and where the bloody and muddied guy was allegedly seen.
This is that general parking lot. Take a look around. And this is where 3 witnesses came forward with differing accounts of the cars that they saw, including a witness came forward saying that they saw a small black SUV that could have matched the description of Richard Allen's car. Another account, a 1965 Comet. We're now on 300 North, and this is a really key location for this case because of the account of what one witness had to say and who they saw walking westbound. Back in 2017, this would have been the location, the general location for what was the Hoosier Harvest store. And it was their cameras that may have captured the parking lot of the CPS building and who may have been parked there and a car that looked very similar to Richard Allen's.
That's quite a rural road, Erica. It's different when you see it like that as opposed to just looking at maps.
Yes, it is, and it curves, and it's kind of wooded, and it opens up into fields on both sides. I'm glad that Matt picked that precise location because based on where he was standing, it really supports what I learned from this potential witness about this muddy, bloody guy.
And Barbara, how much emphasis was put on this part of the case by prosecutors?
Well, they considered this a crucial witness for their timeline, that they believe that Richard Allen left that crime scene around 3:30 or 3:45 to be able to get back out onto that road about 4 o'clock when Sarah Carbaugh saw him. And the state's theory is that he left and never returned to the crime scene after that, and that everything had happened prior to that happened at the scene.
Erica Morris, we only have like 10 seconds left, but 0 to 10, how many more things do you know that you can't reveal right now?
200.
Wow. Okay. Erica Morris, always great to see you. Barbara McDonald, unbelievable work on this case. It's just amazing. Thank you both so much. Now, the reason this case continues to linger on the public's mind is because many members of the public don't trust what happened here. There were a lot of strange developments in this case, including the exclusion of defense evidence uncovered by state investigators by the judge. The judge not allowing evidence that the state uncovered that the defense wanted to use. And the judge also attempted to get the defense attorneys removed from the case. All of that, plus the lack of transparency, will make this one of those cases that will never leave the public conversation and will continue to raise questions. I'm Vinnie Politan. We'll keep digging for answers as the investigation continues.